In this session we're going to talk about functions, but this session is about the introduction to functions, where we're going to talk about what we call relations or what we call mappings. Okay, now we've started with this topic is because for you to understand functions you have to first to understand what we call relations. Okay, and a function, the different types of functions we've got, radical functions, linear functions, quadratic functions, even rational functions, and other functions that I've not mentioned. Okay, we're going to talk about these functions I've mentioned one by one, but this introductory part we're just going to talk about what a function is and how it relates to, in terms of relationships that come about because of the x and the y values. Okay, so let's say you have a set of values for x and y. Let's say you've got, let me say you've got 1 comma a. Okay, let me just put in like that. Let's say you've got 2 comma b, and you also have you have 3 comma c. Okay, in this case, now how are you going to map these ones? Okay, let's say this is x and this is y. Okay, your x values in this case, they're numbers 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so let's just put them nicely. Let's put them in a circle like that. Let me call it, I don't know if it's an oval. Okay, then these will be our y values. Okay, so for our x values, we've said we've got 1, we've got 2 and we've got 3. Then your y values, you've got a, you've got b and you've got c. Okay, now like from our expression, your 1 is mapping to a, your 2 is mapping to b, and your 3 is mapping to c. This kind of relationship is called a relation. This kind of relationship is also called a mapping, where you have an x value that is giving you a certain y value, and that is what we call a function. Now in this case, the x values, in this case, these will be called the input values. Okay, the input values are also called the domain. Okay, then your y values, in this case, they'll be the output values. The output in this case, you can either call it the codomain, that is like the general one, but if you want to be specific, like in our case, this will be called the range. Okay, so these are some of the terms that you need to understand. We're going to talk about domains and ranges as we proceed, how to find those, and how you determine them on different kinds of functions. Okay, now let's talk about something that you need to understand. What if you have this relation? Let's say you have x and you have y. Your x in this case, okay, the same analogy, your x, you've got 1, 2 and 3. Okay, your y in this case, let's say, okay, your a, your b and your c. And the relation in this case, 1 is mapping to 1 is mapping to a, your 2 is mapping to b, and your 3 is mapping to c. Okay, you're able to see that all the elements in x have got some element in y. Such a function is called a one-to-one. One-to-one function. Okay, you can also call it an injective. Okay, an injective, an injective function. okay, depending on the book that you are using. So it will be called a one-to-one function or an injective function. Such kind of a function is still a function, okay? Such kind of a relationship is still a function. Okay, let's talk about another arrangement. Let's say, okay, let's say the same analogy, you have x and you've got your y. Let's say your x in this case, okay, it's the same analogy, 1, 2 and 3. Then here you've got a, you've got b, and you've got c. Okay, then let's map them. Let's say you also have a d in this case here. Then how are they relating? 1 is mapping with a, your 2 is mapping with b, your 3 in this case is mapping to c, your 3 is also mapping to d. Okay, so this kind of a function is called a one-to-many. We're able to see that one x value or one input value, it's giving us two output values, hence the name one-to-many function. Okay, now you must understand that this one is not a function. This relationship is just a relation, but it's not a function. You must understand that. Okay, so we're saying this one is a one-to-many function or relation, actually, not a function. Let's talk about another scenario. What if you've got x, you've got y, your x values in this case, you've got 1, you've got 2, you've got 3, and you've got 4. Your y in this case, you've got a, you've got b, you've got c. And their mappings, let's say 1 is mapping to a, 2 is mapping to b, but in this case 3 is mapping to c, and 4 is also mapping to c. Okay, this kind of an arrangement, okay, this kind of an arrangement. So this kind of a function is called an onto function. It's called an onto function. Okay, others might want to call, in terms of numbers, it is also called a many to one. We've got two x values which are giving you one output value. So it's a many to one function. Some might also call it a subjective function. Now this is a function. Okay, this kind of a relation is a function. Okay, you can have y giving you two x values, right? Like your quadratic, like your x squared, like that. Okay, so it is very important that you understand these concepts. Okay, now as we are rewinding, let's just try to do a recap. We've said if you have a one-to-one function, let's say this is x and this is y. Okay, x is just your input, your y is just your output. X is a, you've got b, and you've got c. Then y is 1, 2 and 3. Okay, when they're mapping like that, this is called a one-to-one function, because every x value is related to some y value. All of them are being represented. Okay, this is one-to-one. Then another scenario, let's say you have your x and you have your y. Your x in this case, let's say our quadratic expression where we say f of x is equals to, let's say, x squared. X squared in this case, let's say we have our values of x. Let's say we have -1, we have -2, we have -3. Okay, let's end there. Now let's say we have +1, you have +2, and you also have +3, like that. Okay, now we're saying f of x is equals to x squared. Now let's square these ones. If you square -1 or -1 squared, will give you what? It will give you a 1, right? Okay, that will be our output. If we say -2 squared will give us a what? It will just give us a 4, a +4, whether it's positive or okay. Then -3 squared, what will it give us? It will give us a 9 if you should -3 squared. Okay, +1 squared will give us still a 1. +2 squared will give us a 4. +3 squared will give us a 9. So we're able to see that -1 is giving you 1. Another value that is giving you 1 is +1 when you square these ones. Okay, like that. Okay, then we're also able to see that if you square -2, -2 is giving you a 4, +2 is also giving you a 4. Okay, then we're able to see as well, if we square -3 squared is giving us a 9, +3 squared is also giving us a 9. Okay, now this kind of a relationship that, like we said, is a many to one function. We said it's a many to one. Okay, many to one in the sense that you've got two input values that are giving you one output value. In this case, like -1 squared, it's it's just giving you 1. +1 squared is also giving you 1. Two x values are giving you one output value. Okay, so this is a many to one function. Okay, and this one is a function. This relation is a function. Now let's recap on those functions that are not, those relations that are not functions. We had a scenario where, let's say this is your x and this is your y. Let's say you have A, you have B, you have C. Okay, let's say you have 1, you've got 2, you've got 3. Let's say you 1 or your A, let's say your A is mapping to 1, it's also mapping to 2. Let's say your B is mapping to 1. Let's say your C is mapping to 3. Okay, this is 3. So we say such a function is called a one-to-many. Now, one-to-many in the case, or in the sense that you've got one value that is giving you two output values. Okay, so because of that relation, you find that such kind of a relation is called the one-to-many relation. And we said this is not a function. It is not a function. Then another arrangement where we said a function is just a relation, is just a relation, it's not a function. Let's say you have A, you have B, you have C, and you have D. Okay, on this other side, let's say you've got 1, you've got 5, and you've got 6. Let's say all of them, or let me say this one is mapping to that one. Let's say C is mapping to 5, your D, let's say your D is mapping to 6. But now your B is not mapped to anything, and this is your input value of X. This is your input value of X, and it's not mapped to anything. So this one is also not a function, it is just a relation. So these are some of the key things that you need to understand about relations and how you're supposed to, represent them. Then the other thing that you're supposed to also understand is don't repeat a number in case they've given you a range of values of X and the Y values. See you in the next session.